Three, two, one.
Hello and welcome. Happy Sunday morning. Good to be back with you as we look at week 9 of the NFL season. I am sure you're just as excited as I am about getting into this week, which features some interesting matchups and we'll have some good games. I'll be covering my games of the week, my sit start suggestions, and of course, my picks against the spread. But first, let's talk about what happened on Thursday Night Football. It was a beat up Texans team against a pretty desperate Jets team that had lost 5 straight games and was sitting at 2-6. They were at home. It was a short week. The Texans, meanwhile, lost Stephon Diggs. He is out for the season now with a torn ACL. Nico Collins still out on IR. Maybe they can get him back for week 10. We shall see. The Texans had a 7-0 lead at halftime, but 21 second half points got it done for the Jets. We saw them connecting on passes, a couple phenomenal touchdown catches for Garrett Wilson, who brought in 2 touchdowns. Davante Adams gets his first touchdown as a Jet. Rodgers throws for 3 touchdowns. They're 3-6. They do have a softer backside of the schedule in the last 8 weeks. Only one team, the Buffalo Bills, who are above 500 right now, left on that schedule. So could be an interesting run for them if they want to try to climb back into the wild card race. They're kind of a push all your chips in on 2024 team, so you would expect that they are going to try to make some moves. The Texans, meanwhile, they gave up 8 sacks. They need some help a little bit up front. Tank Dell had a nice game. Only 3 players caught passes. CJ Stroud, only 11 for 30, was under pressure a lot of the night. Still struggling to get some of that second group of receivers, Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, Robert Woods involved. They probably need a few more weapons. Maybe the 10 days off will help them to get right. And again, if they can get Nico Collins back, that will be a big deal. 6-3, still a comfortable lead in the AFC South, but they have higher goals than that. Well, it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. So that's a little bit of a look at Thursday Night Football. We did have one trade this week in terms of news and notes. Deontay Johnson traded from the Carolina Panthers to the Baltimore Ravens. Could have an interesting impact on the Ravens, their offense, and what they are able to do. But let's dive into some of my games of the week. First up on games of the week in the early window, I'm going with a divisional matchup. The Buffalo Bills at 6-2 are hosting the 2-5 Miami Dolphins. Yes, Tua Tagovailoa is back. That did not make a difference for them against the Cardinals last week, where they lost by 1 point at home. They lost to Buffalo earlier this season at home in a game that Tua was knocked out and missed several weeks. They are now in Buffalo. The Bills have been looking stronger, especially in the pass game. They traded for Amari Cooper, but that's really seemed to open opportunities for Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir, James Cook going good. This is a very crucial game for the Dolphins if they hope to climb back in the race, with the Bills looking to keep on winning and remain among the elite in the AFC. In the late window games, it's another strong divisional matchup. The Green Bay Packers, 6-2, are hosting the 6-1 Detroit Lions. I really like this Lions team. They've rebounded. They've won both games since losing Aiden Hutchinson. They've put up more than 40 points in the last few games. They look to be on an incredible roll. The Packers, meanwhile, it's a game time decision about whether it's going to be Jordan Love or the backup, Malik Willis. The receivers are all healthy. Josh Jacobs is there. This could be a fun offensive showing. This is probably the best game on the Week 9 slate. Sunday Night Football this week, the 5-2 Minnesota Vikings are going to be looking to rebound after losing 2 straight games following a bye. They are hosting the 4-4 Colts. The Colts made a big decision this week. They decided to sit down Anthony Richardson. He was struggling mightily at quarterback. Joe Flacco now appearing to take over for the rest of the season. The Colts trying to hang on and remain in that playoff race. A lot of pressure on both teams to perform in this one. Monday Night Football this week, the only undefeated team in the league, the 7-0 Kansas City Chiefs, will host the 4-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers, their offense was decent last week, trying to recover from losing Chris Godwin, who's now out for the year, and Mike Evans, who is out for a good long chunk of time. Kansas City traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Didn't do a lot in week 1. Maybe with a little more time, he can get more involved here. They still have Travis Kelce, getting closer to a return for Isaiah Pacheco. But Kareem Hunt has really been holding it down. It's just been an okay season for Patrick Mahomes, but that defense is going great. And they are doing enough to win, which is, in the end, all that matters. Well, that's some of the games of the week. How about some players that you should have in your lineups this week? Last week's sit start was not my best week. 1-3 on start recommendations. Some of that, though, slight injury to Brian Thomas Jr. ended his day early. Jared Goff, his team put up 52 points. He was going so strong they didn't need him to stay out there. Didn't quite make the cut. And Brock Bowers just kind of an off game. But I was 3-1 in my sit recommendations. So doing a little bit better there. Let's see how we can do in week 9. As you know, I do one sit and one start at each of the 4 critical fantasy positions. At quarterback, my start this week is Joe Burrow. Look, the Bengals haven't been great. They're only 3-5 as a team, and they're fading from the playoff race. But for fantasy purposes, Burrow has been solid. He's QB6 on the season. He's averaging 19 points per game. This week he gets the Raiders. Look, I'm throwing Burrow in there. My sit this week, maybe a little surprise for some, is Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos. Look, I know Bo Nix has been on a heater. He's up to QB9 on the season. He has 11 touchdowns and just 1 interception in his past 6 games. That was a softer part of the schedule. This week they're on the road against a hungry Ravens team who had an embarrassing loss last week. He might be okay in Superflex, but he's not a top 12 option for me this week. And the run game, I am starting Kyren Williams. Despite all the injuries to the offensive line and the receivers, Williams has been a rock for the Rams. He's RB5 on the season. He's averaging nearly 20 points per game, and that includes more than 22 points in week 8 as Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp return. Williams is a workhorse. He is definitely worth a start against Seattle. I am sitting Travis Etienne. Look, he's missed the last few games with injury. He's a game-time decision this week, so while he's tracking to return, he may not even be on the field. It's not a great matchup, and Etienne will be splitting backfield touches with Tank Bigsby, who's really come on of late in a middling Jaguars offense. I just don't think there's enough volume for him to be a good play. At wide receiver, I'm going back to the Rams, and I am firing up Puka Nacua. Look, he rolled off IR and put up 18 points, rolling a 100-yard receiving day. He looks like he's back to his 2023 form. I know they said he tweaked his knee in practice this week, but I think he's going to play, and if he's out there, you want him in your lineup. The Rams are in a crucial battle with the Seattle Seahawks. Could give them a chance to get up to first place in the NFC West. I like him to take off again and reward fantasy players for their patience. Meanwhile, I'm sitting Keenan Allen. The Bears are an emerging team. I like Caleb Williams, and I like that he continues to grow as a passer, but that hasn't always meant great things for his receivers. Keenan Allen is only wide receiver 77 on the season. He has one 21-point game, but the rest of his games, he's had less than 7 points. He's just not getting enough volume to be a worthwhile play. Finally, we turn to the realm of tight end, and my start this week is Cade Otton. He is the player who has benefited the most from the loss of receivers in Tampa Bay. In the past 2 games, he's exploded for 17 receptions, 181 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They're going to face a good test against the Kansas City Chiefs this Monday. They will need Otton's help to move the offense and keep them in the game. I'm firing him up. My sit, meanwhile, just another Ram in the lineup here. Decisions. Colby Parkinson of the Rams. At times, he got some good volume in this passing game, especially when they were shorthanded with Nacua and Kupp out, but those guys are back. I think Parkinson is merely a low-end tight end, too. He kind of lacks the kind of upside that would make you think he's worth throwing into a lineup. I don't think he's a great bet for touchdowns either because they have such a strong run game. Well, that'll do it for games of the week and my sit starts. I think it's time to move on to picks against the spread. Week 8, I took a little bit of a hit. I finished 6-10, overall 63-60 at the end of 8 weeks. Going into week 9, I've already started off on a little bit of a down note. I took the Texans plus 0.5. They obviously lost by 8 points. So that puts me at 63-61. Let's see how I can do with the rest of the lineup. I'm taking the Cowboys plus 2.5 points in Atlanta. I don't know why, but I just feel like the Cowboys are going to come up with a big win this week. I took them in a straight up victory as well. I took the Buffalo Bills minus 6.5 over the Dolphins. It's a divisional matchup. The Dolphins have some weapons, but they have not been playing well, and I like what Buffalo is doing. I took the Raiders plus 7.5 in Cincinnati. Look, I think the Bengals will get the victory this week, but I think it's going to be close. All their games have been seemingly close, and the Raiders have a little bit of upside. I took the Cleveland Browns plus 1.5 at home against the Chargers. I actually took the Browns for a straight up victory. I like what Jameis Winston is doing in that offense. I like what they found in Cedric Tillman. I think they can get this home win and get to 3-6. I took the Tennessee Titans minus 2.5 over the New England Patriots. This is really kind of a toss up game. I mean, the Patriots definitely could win this one, but I have the Titans getting their second win of the season at home. I took the Washington Commanders minus 2.5 in New York against the Giants. I think the Commanders are just a better team. They get to 7-2. I took the Carolina Panthers plus 6.5 at home over the Saints. I think the Saints will get the overall victory with Derek Carr returning, but I think the Panthers have been playing better of late. So has Bryce Young. I think they will keep this one reasonably close. I took the Denver Broncos plus 9.5 in Baltimore. Look, I think Ravens will get the overall victory, but I think Denver has a very good defense, and they've been having an opportunistic offense. I think they will keep it closer than a 10-point blowout. I took the Chicago Bears plus 1.5 in Arizona. I know Arizona is technically the first place team in the NFC West, but I think the Bears are better, and I think they will get a crucial road win. I took the Eagles minus 7.5 over the Jaguars in Philadelphia. I think the Eagles just have a better team. The Jaguars not playing well this year. I took the Detroit Lions minus 4.5 against the Green Bay Packers. This was a close one. I think this could be a close-ish game, less than a touchdown, but I still like Detroit, and their offense has been on a heater. I took the Rams plus 0.5 in Seattle, as you might have guessed. I took the Rams as the overall victor. I took the Minnesota Vikings minus 5.5 at home over the Colts. I think the Vikings need a win, and they are getting their offense together and doing well. Finally, I took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 8.5 in Kansas City. I think Kansas City gets the win. I think they move to 8-0. I don't think they win by more than a touchdown. They're another team that has played a lot of close games, and Tampa Bay is feisty and has a lot of heart despite all the injuries that they have endured. Well, that'll do it for this week. Week 9, getting ready to take off. Next week, I will be here early again as we have our final international game. It will be the Germany game next week with the Panthers and I believe the Giants and the Panthers. So it could be an interesting game. Until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful week 9 and everything goes well for your fantasy team.